at Common Grounds in Kauai on the magnificent island of Hawaii with Debra. Hello, Debra.
Hello, aloha.
How are you doing?
I'm so happy to be here.
I had to take this little break from the Juicy Tour Europe and come to this very nurturing place and meet people like you here.
Isn't it coincidental how I was here at the exact same time?
I love it.
That's what we call synchronicity.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite words.
And you are, so we had this Skype conversation already. You might have seen this video. Really, really enjoyed it and had so much fun. You're so much fun. Oh my goodness.
That's what I specialize in. We've got to have fun or else I'm going home. If we're not having fun, I'm not staying here. That's my theory. If we got only one lifetime, we may as well do it juicy. Secret sauce.
Yes, and I love it because when I went on your website, you're an astrologer. Any psychotherapist? I always have a hard time to say that one. Woo! But you have all these really cool videos with all the different signs, and I saw the Leo. I cracked up. So you're not just doing the readings. You're actually really enjoying yourself.
And I'm trying to psychologically understand you. Like, my job is to enter into your psyche and go, how do you see the world? And how do I give you the permission slip to go, okay, you do you, because I'm definitely doing me. So if we could all be ourselves and do it in harmony, we'd have a tapestry of all different colors, and we'd all blend in, and it would be this fascinating mosaic of like humans that all seem to dance together. That's my plan.
So what are the things that we have forgotten along the way?
How to be ourselves, how to be comfortable, how to stop judging, how to just get comfortable in your own skin and go, you know what? I get to be me and you get to be you, and stop telling me what to do. That's what I want to have happen. So my promise is, my life's work is looking around at the beauty. We're certainly in the most beautiful. You should see where we are. It's not fair. This place is so perfect. At the divine level, at the soul level, we are perfect. That's what's true. If we could close our eyes and you weren't sitting on Kauai, because not all of us get the pleasure of sitting on Kauai, and we could take the inner journey to go, oh, if I close my eyes when someone dies, what I miss the most about them is the feeling of their soul. Not the outer world and all the things, but it's that quality of knowing somebody and being seen by them. So my life's work is being able to see someone and saying, let me figure out who you are. Let me describe it. Then I'm going to give you a permission slip, and now get on with it. I push people out of the nest. I start fires under their chair. I do. I have a radio show, and that's what I do in the radio. People call and they go, I'm feeling a little down. And I go, okay, come on, get up, stand up. Let's talk about this. Don't be talking from that voice of whining and negative, because we have to have the will. The life force has to get activated, and that's why they watch you. That's why they turn these videos on. Like, remind me that I'm there for a reason on this planet. Remind me how to be myself, and tickle me back into my own awareness so I'm not captured by the negative collective unconscious that says, ew, it's scary. It's not scary if you know how to weather the storm.
I love your analogy of the earth really just giving birth.
Yes, right now. She's screaming. If you'd never heard her give birth before and you were in the room, just imagine. You weren't told what was going to happen. You're sitting in this room and you're watching this woman, and she's yelling and screaming. She's got this big thing on her tummy, and you're like, cut the thing off. Like, let's help her. Get the thing off of her. And I'm going, can you sit down? Take a breath. This is all part of a design. There's an incredible intelligence that makes these trees grow, that makes the sunshine, that makes the soil flourish, that gives us our cells, that knows every single thing in your little DNA, dancing nuclear awareness, every one of your DNA. But we forget. That was funny. We forget that we are actually a dance, that everything's happening in a divine order, and that they're really honest to God. And I can tell you so many examples where I've seen clients come in and they start off by telling me something's really wrong, that they really aren't right, that they really haven't been happy. And I say to them, excuse me, can I just remind you that you get up every morning and you have the privilege of hot water in your shower, and then you get to get in that car and zoom around town. You get to put on clothes that are comfy and smells. It's like, remember the simplicity, the elemental simplicity of the pleasures of being in a body. But when the emotional body and the mind get caught by negativity, it's like a wrestling match. It's like fighting with demons. And we are built as change agents to break that pattern and actually choose joy. Here's my big joke. It says, it's kind of funny. I'm the president of the Jews for Joy Club, but I can't get any members because by nature, old historical memories, whether it's Jews or the Chinese or the ancient ones, they suffered. So now we're in this era where we don't have to suffer anymore. We can choose to be happy. We can choose to get married or not. We can choose to have kids or not. We can choose to have our hair, our clothes. Everything's free, and we don't remember that that's a real symptom of 2012. We are in the change. It's not happening suddenly. It's right today.
Yeah, then why do we keep on making choices that are not really a match then?
Because the memories, our old stories get stuck to us like fly paper does to you know what. It's like we have an undifficult ability to step out of the old thought process and sustain joy and actually choose it. But it's a muscle and it's work. And you can't deny the pain to get out of it. You can't just transcend and bypass and go, I'm so happy, aren't we all? Love, love. No. You have to be able to say, oh, I have a relationship with the dark, or oh, I get depressed, or oh, I feel lonely. And then you become friends with your loneliness. And you go, oh, you again. You're going to come sit down with me? Well, let's at least be friends. And I'll tell you what, you're not coming out of the house. I'll spend a half an hour with you, and then you're staying here. But if you take that negative voice and you put it on your back and you travel through your day with it, and it starts to take up space in your consciousness, and you start to believe it because you don't tell anyone, it's embarrassing. The next thing you know, when you're alone, so the job is, how do we manage and master the negativity that surfaces and be able to distinguish between the negative voice, the fear that exists here. We are all suffering from it because we really do wonder if when she's screaming, the mother, that something's wrong. The ecology's off, the politics is off, the finances are off, the government is off, the religion. What's on except for the New Age movement? That's the most exciting.
That's in crisis too.
Yeah, and there's lots of people in crisis wondering if it's real and wondering if it's just a bunch of hot air. And I'm here to tell you, astrology is the oldest science on earth. And what it predicted, that there would come a time coming soon to our neighborhood. In fact, it's happening. Pluto, Uranus, Saturn have all been in a squaring relationship. It's an astrological term for it's happened. The last time this happened, Saturn was squaring Pluto, was in 1776, when the revolution occurred in England, and the Europeans and the Germans and the French all came across in boats saying, we don't want to play that old system that was handed to us by the old story. They came to America and they broke all the rules and they started a whole new story. Well, we're on the same path. We're breaking the old story, but we don't have anywhere to go. The new frontier, the transformation that has to happen, the revolution, is on the inside as we manage the gremlins and the negative thoughts and the demons. And we say to them, you are not governing my mind or my heart or my body. But it's a full-on workout. I mean,
looking good, Deb.
and that's why we do yoga, and that's why we do exercise. We go for the run. That's why we meditate. All of these are spiritual practices to get the muscles strong enough to have us be mindful that when the gremlins come in and the fear, and it will be a scary time, I'm predicting as an astrologer that we are just turning a corner.
When?
Starting in the Saturn enters Scorpio in October of 2012, all the way through till 2014, there is a new transition going on. It's just starting in the next month. And it has to do with the unconscious mind surfacing even more. So in America, we're going to see when this election completes, like, oh, how are we going to take care of the economy now? Well, we can't go back to the old ways. It's just like the revolution in England. They left that world and entered a new one, but it was at the outer level. America's now having a revolution of sorts. We can no longer assume that we're the arrogant know-it-alls, the Canadian Americans, North America's everything. No, we're human. We have to get on our knees and get back to basics and return to simplicity. And we're not very good at going from this incredible sense of ego that our human nature had to being humbled and spiritual and saying, I need to be nice to each other, come back to basics, learn how to share.
And it doesn't need to be bloody.
No, that's the revolution. That's the old system, the Piscean age. The Piscean age was symbolized, ready, by a man on a cross with blood in his hands looking like this. That was I love Christ personally. I do. I have a great relationship with him. But the image of our symbology from the old era was that the Piscean age was sacrifice. And now we're in the Aquarian age, which means be yourself, do anything you want. There's no rules. Anything goes, but you've got to get out of your mind the memory of the last 2,000 years, which was really suffering. We have had a very hard time historically where you were told you could or you couldn't get married. You were told where you could live. You could never leave your town. You'd be banished if you had an independent thought. And now we're like, anything goes, and we're kind of awkward. How does this work? How can we feel free to say yes or no to relationships, to be independent, to be dependent? It's all confused.
So how is that different from the New Age movement that happened in '69 and during all these times?
Exactly. That was the entrance of the Aquarian age, was in '69. So that was the beginning of the change. They're 2,100-year cycles. So we entered the '60s. I'm not sure what year. You can't mark the year, but that was the beginning.
Right.
Where
It's always going
broke.
Yeah.
Where suddenly we were taking drugs and we broke all the rules and we said give your money to everybody and sleep with whoever you want. It was a radical departure. Then we got, oopsie, just kidding. But it was the beginning of the dismantling of the old story. And now we're just at the very beginning of the new story going, Do you think we could actually be kind to each other?
Yeah.
Do you think there's any hope?
Because for some people like Carolyn Mace that I've interviewed, we're still in the same thing and nothing is really changing, and this is a disaster.
And I'm here to tell you it's exactly, if you saw a woman giving birth, can you imagine? She's screaming and yelling and you're in the room, but you've never seen it before. What would you think? It's a disaster. You want to help her. But if there was a wise elder in the room, they'd say, sit down and let's trust that this is not a mistake. And someone would have had a dream, or they would have had a vision, or they would have had an insight, and they would have said and that's what astrology is for. I can tell you without question that we are coming around a corner. There's new babies coming in right now, the next generation of these kids, these unbelievable beings in the 2012 and onward that are being born right now, are coming in with the memory of the future. They're already in the future working backwards, trying to help us catch up. But we're going, really? Do you think it's possible that we could live a world without war? Could we actually get along and do relationship in new forms that don't require jealousy and attachment and stickiness? We can't even conceive. What would marriage be if we understood that it doesn't always last forever, and that's okay? And that when you make the transition, you're kind to your lover. There's a new dream, and that's the dream that's coming in this next era. But it requires every one of us doing the work. That's why I love doing readings, because when I get to give someone a reading, I say, let me help you clear out the imagery that you're carrying of your memory bank that has to do with women being abused, or has to do with being violated because we were so strong, or has to do with your mom and your dad having been hurt. And then we carry these no, we get to start in a brand new story. And that's what my children, I'm so excited to be able to say that I did the work inside of myself to face my own demons. And there were plenty of them. And I still dance with them. I still have to say to them, you're back again. Could you sit down? And when they get that, ooh, she's so mindful, she's in charge, I don't deny my human. I know I'm vulnerable. I know that I'm emotional. I'm one of those characters that needs to have friends. I am an air person and I need to be close to people. I know that about myself. So instead of being embarrassed by it now, I get to be confident enough to say, where's my telephone? I got to call someone. And that becomes humorous and that becomes endearing, and I know how to serve myself. Some people, they know they have to be quiet, that the only way they can regroup is to pull away from everybody and be quiet and turn everything off. But they need guilt-free cards because they think, is that okay? To pull away from everybody and feel like I want to be alone? Yes, that's a water person. An air person has to talk. An earth person has to go count their money. They have to know they're safe and secure, and they got everything, and the lines are all right, and they're making money, and they're all organized. Now they feel safe, and everything's clean, and the forks are in the right place. When they put them in the dishwasher, I feel better now. That gives them security. And the fire people have to have fun and travel, or they get crazy. If there's not a joy factor in a fire person's life where they're actually feeling excited, they're depressed. So it's a question mark of how do we follow the element and how do we be ourselves? And it's such a fun question. How do you be yourself? Go see an astrologer. Go ask for counsel. Get the wisdom to understand your system. I'm I'm so in love with astrology.
Yeah, I could definitely say that. And you're really good at it. How do you see all that from the stars and how they were aligned on the day of our birth? I mean, it's quite extraordinary. Is that like a blueprint?
Exactly. It's a blueprint, and then you learn, and I teach. I love teaching. Just the simple language of it, like in your case, when we discovered you have Saturn on the sun. As soon as I know that was an unusual occurrence, it happens once a year within a week, that you're born with that influence, I know that you're old. Saturn is wisdom, and he's an old mythical creature who knew how to say, sit still and study and do your work and don't cheat. So it makes you very, very much of a work ethic. And so you came that way. So I can look at the chart and then you go, that's right. And then I say to you now, don't get carried away. You got to know when to stop and chill and get to Maui and take a time out. It's okay, guilt-free cards. Yeah. But once you know the propensity, you look at the chart, it's like this photograph. It's like this, sometimes I feel like I'm breaking the code. Like God put us all in these little star configurations, but they didn't tell us how to read the fine print. And I can look at the hieroglyphics and go, I get it. And then I help people. And it's such a powerful doorway. You can't believe the difference of a client, a young person. I particularly love doing teenagers because they're so awkward. You remember that feeling? And you think, I don't know how to be myself, and I want to be like what's her name? And I get to look at a chart and go, that is not your job. Do not do what's her name. You're doing you, and here's permission. And you need to have an understanding of yourself. And then they go, thank you.
And even I know that you have done the reading of some big celebrities. Do you also find that it's the same thing, the same problems, the same issue, or is that harder because of what they're facing? What kind of chart do they have even?
Everybody comes with a subset of problems. There's people that are famous that have to deal with their egos or other people's projections. There's people that are lonely that have to deal with their separateness. There's people that are married for 12 years, 15, 35 years, still stuck so to seem in the marriage. And all I'm here to do is say, this is your karma. This is what your assignment was. We don't have a whole lot of free will. I hate to tell this out loud because everybody's listening. The only free will we really have
You're listening.
is what we do with our head. There's circumstances, who you're going to meet, the dog you end up with, the kid you end up with, the partner you end up with. Fate determines these very large issues. But what you do with them, the single thought of how you're going to say yes to your fate, fall in love with your fate, or argue with it, that can make people nuts. And they come to me, a woman comes to me and says, you know, I really want to leave my husband. I was like, how long have you been married? 25 years. How long have you wanted to leave? Oh, about 24. Well, based on results, you're not leaving, are you? So why don't we stop this conversation and figure out how we're going to keep you there and stop complaining? Because fate will have her way with you. And the question mark is, can my mind accept my fate and be able to fall in love with what I've been handed? And everything changes the minute the heart opens and the acceptance is present.
So instead of fighting and pushing against what's already so.
So let's say you have, in a case of someone who has, we'll talk about water, they're really prone to negativity or to depression. Then I get to say to them, listen, you need to tell someone and let your negativity out and be held. Otherwise, it's going to be a ghost. Or someone who has air, their minds are always confused. They can't make a decision. They don't know what they want to be. It's always vague. Then you've got to start talking and journaling and writing this down to see that you're on a broken record. Or it's earth. They're all worried about money. They're so security oriented. It drives them crazy because they don't feel safe. Well, then you've got to go to a banker and get yourself situated so that you can tell that part of your mind to sit down. Or it's fire. I have no sexual energy, or I'm so depressed, or I'm so jacked up and I'm such a flirt and I have no control over my fire. Then you've got to go figure out how you're going to master this, because it doesn't go away. The older we get, the more we are funny than we were when we started. That's what happens to me. The older I get, the funnier I get. Or strange is a better word. And then the question is, can I figure out how to dance with that? And that's been so wonderful about getting older. Because now at this age, I really know myself. Yeah. And I can say, okay, here goes Deb. She's a mushy character. You can't tell by looking, but I'm really sensitive. So when I get my feelings hurt now, I say to someone, I just want to share this with you. That really hurt my feelings. They go, I couldn't tell by looking. But I've learned now the skill of saying that out loud, what I never wanted to say before, because now I'm not embarrassed by my human nature, and I know it's what makes me endearing. It makes me real.
But it's brilliant because I think we all have a conversation we know we need to have. So is there some little formulas or way of to enter these kind of muddy waters?
Good question. That's a very practical question. So first you write about it. You journal. You admit to yourself, here's my fixation. Here's what I'm scared of. Here's where I repeat myself. As soon as you become aware of it, then you either seek counsel and you find a wise person, whether it's a therapist, whether it's an astrologer, whether it's your mom that you love, and you say, I have this repetitive thought that I keep having over and over again. I need some help. And then if they don't give you help or you don't feel counsel, then you get back to the beginning again and you say, you turn your observer and you go, wow, I have a broken record. It's either money, it's relationships, it's scary thoughts, or it's my cheese down. Those are the four. Either water, it's my emotional body and I'm depressed and I have negative thoughts. Air, I can't make decisions and I'm vague. Earth, I really can't figure out money and it drives me crazy. Fire, I feel completely out of energy or I'm too much and I can't, I'm addicted and I indulge too much. So you know where your broken record is. Now the question is, how willing are you to take the job up that makes you go do what it will take for you to be the change agent so that the planet gets to change? We're trying to change the human nature dynamics. The imprint of human based on history was miserable. Like if you think about history, your mom and dad and all that, everything was so miserable. I mean, I'm not being funny when I say I'm the president of the Jews for Joy Club. It's not just Jews. Who wants to be happy? But it takes first admitting you're not. And that's the courageous part. So you got to turn, the first step is just write it down. I'm going to admit that I really don't know what to do with my relationship. That's step number one. Number two, now I'm willing to say it out loud to somebody. Could be your best friend. Could be just saying it to your partner would be the real high road. Then the third one is, can we ask for help? Because I really want to be happy this life. Like, what a great thought that everybody listening to the show today wants to be the change agent to bring joy to this planet. Are you listening? But it's so, well, it's hard to, it's so easy for me to say it. But here we are in this land of embodiment, where the trees and the water and the sun and the flowers and the smells, everything's so visceral, we're touching. But when we leave this and the show is over and you're left back in your head, what will you remember? Will you remember you have permission to be happy? That there's a muscle that requires flexing, that you choose to take care of your body. That you know why people eat healthy? This fixate. Look at everywhere. Look where we're sitting. All the organic food, all the healthy food. Why? Because we know as a species we've got to refine what we eat so we can be a clear channel to be able to choose again and actually have a healthy choice. Wow. I ate Twinkies when I was little. I had Pop-Tarts. I had white food. I remember as soon as I found healthy food, I was like, my whole soul. It was such a radical departure from what I lived with. But so many of us don't even know what it feels like to be healthy. So you've got to have role models, and that's the people watching the show. They are the ones saying to others, you can't push it. You just got to radiate and be an example. And by being an example, people say, they look at me and they go, how come you're so happy? I go, you really want to know?
And I saw you walking on the beach.
I was having fun.
Yeah, and it's you were certainly having fun, and you were certainly giving that out freely as your spirit, talking and appreciating the water, the wind, and all of it. And that's infectious when we're really just letting ourselves be ourselves. What a feeling! How contagious is that?
That's right, and you've got to get outside. People have to touch the trees. They got to take their shoes off. They've got to drink the water and taste the water. They've got to drink the wine and swallow it with delight. It can't just be sleepwalking. But in order to wake up and be that perky, it really requires a choice.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of free will when it comes to circumstance, but there's a lot of free will when it comes to choice. I have a friend who spent, on my website, he spent 27 years in San Quentin prison, and I helped him get out. And I learned from him that prison was between his ears, that he wasn't in prison because he knew one day he'd get out, and he never left the thought. His famous line was, stay focused. And I laughed instead of crying. That was his favorite line. Because he knew he had to stay focused on the positive, and he did it. And he got out. On the day that Obama received his nomination, the same day 45 years earlier, Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. That was the day this black man walked out of San Quentin. So he had this vision, and he never let go. But that takes muscles. That's a soul who says, I choose to stay focused. And that's my invitation to all my clients. Can I help you, inspire you, tickle you? Sometimes I scream at people. I don't do the traditional therapy. Like I'll say, are you kidding? I had this lady standing in line at a Walmart. I swear, people think I have big ears. I don't really have big ears, but people tell me all their secrets. So I'm standing in line at Walmart, and she's putting all her stuff in the bag, and she says, I say, how are you? I make eye contact. I go, how are you doing? And she sees I make eye contact, and she goes, not real well. And I go, what's going on? There's a long line behind me. And she goes, my husband told me he's having an affair, and he wants the woman to move in with us. And I said, and what did you say? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, let me help you. No, it's a short answer. No, she's not. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. And she put the stuff in the bag, and my kids, we walked out, and they turned to me, and they go, why does everybody tell you everything? Because I'm here, and I'm making eye contact. And she knew it was safe, and I got to tell her the truth. No, we're not having the woman move in with her husband because he suggested it. Wake up. And she goes, oh, thanks. So it's a question of who gives us truths. Where do we break the veneer, the pretense of being here and really show up and feel the wind and smell the flower? But it takes a choice. So my invitation is, say yes.
My invitation to you is that you come back to Kauai, because I know the Hawaiians are going to watch this too, and they're going to want you back on this island, and you love it, and you often come back. So
I'm going to come back as much as I can. This is where I get my remembrance that Mother Earth is so happy, and the land, the Aina, is so rich and so filled with greenery. And I come here and I bathe in the remembrance that Mother Earth and this planet is absolutely perfect if we would just wake up.
And I invite you to go and check the website of Debra and see your own sign and look at this hilarious videos she has done of all the different signs. It's really something to see. And I love when we really just follow our creativity, our own expression, how we have a lot more fun and a lot more laughter and playfulness. And so thank you for this delicious moment.
Thank you for being so open and following your intuition and meeting me here. And you're so gifted at letting spirit push you around, you fire mama, all in red. It's so true, isn't it? You just let spirit tell you what to do. Yeah. And what makes you trust so much, Lilou? What is it? How come you have so much faith to keep taking the risk? No, can you answer it?
Well, I just follow my intuition, and I follow my heart, and I feel this is it feels good when I do it. I love it. I've got more energy from it, and I really do feel that we all have, when we were born, some qualities for something specific. I was born with a lot of energy, so moving around, traveling, doing interviews back to back, it's not a problem.
And now you know why. You've got a lot of energy. Your sun is in fire as a Leo, and your rising sign is Sagittarius, is also fire, your soul. So you're double fire. Doesn't that explain it in this red dress why you have so much energy? That's the gift of astrology. Now you understand, and you get to use it. You are already doing it, by the way. Most of my work is just reminding people how good they are. They just seem to have this critic that judges them and scares them. And it's not true. We're in a safe world.
And what's funny, and that's probably interesting to say it right now, because we had a session with Debra, and she pointed out I don't know how to say it, but my Scorpio, I guess, my negative side.
Scorpio.
And I must say, guys, it doesn't look like that sometimes when I'm in interviews or with the show and all bubbly up, but I have the doubts, I have the negative that pops so loudly and so significantly for most of my life, that where you were able to say that when I thought this might be intuition and a secret, and just saying, oh, maybe I should follow this path. But it's like this constant voices, that we have, and we all have a version of that, I guess. Yes. But it's very freeing to just say, okay, no, I can just talk to it and just sit there, don't move.
Exactly.
I'm going to do my juicy tour no matter what.
That's right. So some people have propensities towards the water, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, where it really goes negative. Some people are totally cut off and detached and don't feel anything. So it's a different propensity depending on their, but you'll be surprised. Some people hear you talk about your negativity and go, God, I don't feel anything. I just completely just turn off all my feelings and keep on going. So it's different range of sensibilities, and you clearly have lots of sensitivity. But it's great to name it and then be able to leave it over here so it doesn't rule the ship. Because otherwise, Scorpio, negativity can really scare us. And it's
thank you.
Good. I'm so glad to have been of value and give you some insight.
Beautiful. And you have certainly given us a lot of insight. So thank you, Debra. I look forward to seeing you again on beautiful Kauai or wherever.
Let me share my work. I really appreciate you supporting my dream to be able to help people fall in love with themselves. That's all I'm here to do.
Guys, I love you, okay? I send you much love from Kauai. I hope you have enjoyed this new interview, and there's a lot more coming up here because it's a juicy place. Another one. Like pretty much anywhere around the world if you look close.
It's everywhere. Joy is everywhere, waiting to be interviewed.
Bye-bye. Aloha.